David King is alongside of me. He's the best analyst in football. Who else would you want for your first thoughts on a Monday than Kingy? Good morning to you, buddy. And what are your first thoughts after what we saw on the weekend?
Well, my first thoughts are you're in real strife when you get to Channel 7 today, because one of the great own goals was had overnight when you were watching the Fremantle versus Carlton game on your phone. BT put it to air.
Yes.
You were watching the Fox coverage when you should have been sitting on the Channel 7 table, probably watching the Channel 7 coverage of the same game.
I don't think there was. I don't think there was Channel 7 coverage of that game.
I think there was.
The Perth coverage. I think you'll find that the 7 crew were in Geelong, which I watched on 7, the Port Adelaide Geelong game.
On 7? Sure who did the game?
Nick Revold and Joel Selwood.
Did they?
Yeah. Mitch Cleary was there.
Excellent.
So don't try and get me in trouble.
I think you'll be in trouble later on tonight, but that's...
I can read you like a book.
We can put that to the people are onto it here. There's a few people sending through some
was
messages.
It on 7?
I'm just saying. I'm just telling you what's happening.
No fighting.
No fighting.
Keep fighting.
No
fighting.
Cut it off there. It gets a bit nasty, that one. A great weekend of footy. We had a couple of games that were seriously important, and most of them we knew were coming, didn't we? We were only looking forward to probably 2 games a weekend at the moment, which is disappointing.
Yep. It's a nightmare.
I read out a stat last night. What was it?
Saw this. Since 34-1.
34-1. Since round 14, top 9 versus bottom 9. There's been 35 clashes, and it's 34 wins, 1 loss, and the only loss was Sydney beating Fremantle in Sydney, round 17. So that just shows how lopsided our competition has become. And I'm concerned that the teams that are sort of bottom 5 in the competition right now have got nowhere to go for probably another 2 years.
No, I'm with you. So this is we can get distracted by all sorts of things in this game, fixturing and all the things that are regular topics of ours. The biggest issue for the AFL is to get the bottom 9 more competitive with the top 9 and the 18 more competitive with each other. That's the only focus. A lot of these issues will be solved if you get teams that are more competitive and with a bit of hope that there is a future, because right now there isn't. So whatever we've done to try and make this an even competition has failed miserably, and that should be the only real focus. Now, this isn't going to be solved in one season. There is the possibility that it was a one-off, Kingy, because we haven't really seen it like this before, and last year there was probably 12 or 13 teams that could have made the 8, but there's always been 4 or 5 disastrous teams. This year there's 9.
I'll tell you what's gathering momentum though, Cornsey.
What is it?
Is sacking the father-son.
Oh, yeah. It has to, at least for the first round.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing it for the first round, it's the good ones, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The game changes. You know,
yeah.
the Ashcroft boys, the Dacos boys.
Darcy. I'd be absolutely supportive of that.
Yeah.
And if they want to come home to the club where their dad played in 3 years' time, good luck. And yep, no worries, but you're going to pay full price. So imagine if Nick Dacos went to St Kilda and then he wanted to get to Collingwood after 3 years. You imagine what Collingwood would have had to have given St Kilda to get him out of there. And we're talking 2-3 first round picks. That's the fair price, not the pick 30, 31, 42, 52 that you need to match the points. What a ridiculous system that is.
Well, I call that real value. You want real value? Put your house up for auction. You get the absolute.
Definitely.
You get the price that it's worth.
No doubt. So if Harley Reid was a father-son, let's just say for the exercise, Harley Reid was a father-son. His dad played at Geelong. After 3 years, he wants to come back and play for Geelong. What do you reckon the Cats are going to have to give for Harley Reid if he wants a trade? Eagles are going to absolutely clean up. So this is...
Well, they're not letting him go to Geelong in the first place. They're trading up to pick 1 or trading up to pick 2 or trading up to pick... Whatever that pick is, you're getting overs, which is exactly how you want it to function. So this is an easy fix and a quick fix. And it won't, in my opinion, cost too many players or too many teams losing their father-sons. It'll just mean they pay real value or overs. Perfect.
And they may not come home. They may just be happy there. And they may, Dad played there, I played here. Well done, I'm happy. So, yeah.
Would you have to phase that in, or would that be, hey, this is happening?
Oh, well, do we ever phase anything in? We just usually say this is happening, don't we?
Okay. I wonder whether you have to have a 2-year runway.
Well, maybe the way to phase it in is you start with the first round is uncompromised, and then in a year's time, the first 40 is uncompromised, and eventually it's just the whole thing's uncompromised. But I don't know. Let's talk about what we saw on Saturday night. I thought just a great game of footy. I thought Brisbane were enormous, high pressure. They were challenged at one point, and you thought the momentum of Collingwood in that second term was going to blow this game to bits, but they didn't. They hung in there. What was your first thoughts? And I guess we often turn our attention to the loser and what it means for them and the vulnerabilities of the Pies, Kingy.
I know we were going to have Fags on, and I'm kind of glad he's not coming on because we can talk about Brisbane tactically. I thought they tactically picked them apart.
Yeah,
their team tag philosophy on Dacos, in particularly the second half, really stepped up and worked. You know, we know that he's their scoring machine. He's the only way they're scoring at the moment. Everything via Nick or off half back with that aggressive corridor game that they've been able to use. So the long down the line, the way they used Harris Andrews will be the template for every team going forward. That will be how teams diffuse that critical contest down the wing line. I thought he was outstanding. 15 spoils, 9 intercepts. He was everything for them. So I think Chris Fagan had a massive say in this game. Rolling up Rayner and Bailey in the second half around stoppage, just put enough traffic around the action so nothing pure come from clearance, and then it became a ball movement game. And that's where the Lions just took hold.
Yeah, I mean, their ability to transition the ball with uncontested mark, and it works. Like at times during the second quarter, they were just kicking out of their defence, and that once Zorko got it in his hands, slowed things down. They were pretty aggressive with their ball movement a couple of times. Even in that second quarter, they transitioned the ball right from their defensive 50 to their forward 50, and I just thought their quick hands game and how clean they were and how tough they were inside, and also their ability to find the right option going inside forward 50. Not every time. Rayner burned a couple, but gee, it was a statement of performance. And so that's the tactical side of what Fags did. I thought the psychological side of what he did was equally as impressive. Right from the minute they lost against Gold Coast. Go back and watch his post-match media conference after that game. He was really calm. There was a sternness about him, but there was still a lot of belief that, hey, this isn't us. Like, I've got real belief, because it's easy to overreact to games like that. And you gee whiz, Brisbane are off. They're off with their hunger. They're smacked around the footy, which is their weapon. Is this the end? But no, he was really calm. He backed his players, and this was a one-off. And then midweek, he said, look, it's a one-off. It better be a one-off. And he was a bit more aggressive and a bit more demanding, I guess, midweek. So I thought the psychological masterclass. The players hearing everything, and that post-match media conference is a vehicle to speak to your players and your fans. I thought the way that he handled it just goes to show what he really a psychological master really is what Chris Fagan is now, and I thought there's no better example of that. So that's Brisbane.
But also, just before you leave them, to then still play the youngster in Smith.
Yeah.
So it's okay to have the honest chat with the guys. Hey, listen, we've got to get back on track. Normally, you fall back into those senior experienced types when that's the case. So to play Smith, I thought was a real risk, and he was terrific. So he was rewarded for that selection. So some weeks you just get everything right, and they did that, both tactically and emotionally and all those sorts of things. And boy, does it send a big message to the competition. It's very difficult to isolate which team in the top sort of half a dozen you think can win it, and we'll do that later on. But the way the Lions played on the road at the G, it's hard not to be impressed with that performance. Yeah,
that was a statement performance. 82,000 there, a challenge, but got it done pretty convincingly in the end. Like all the numbers, they really beat them up. So, what does it mean for Collingwood? They've had a 20-year-old kick 6 on them after largely not a no-name, but Voss did the same a few weeks ago on the same ground. Now, Craig McRae says, look at the numbers, we're still the best, or if not, very close to being the best defensive team in it. They didn't look like the best defensive team in it at all.
No, and I just think you're appreciating how good a player Jeremy Howe is. Like he's as good with the ball coming in defensively, and he assists. He allows others to take dominant positions because you've just got that surety around the edges. I think Quainer gets caught out of position far too regularly and needs guidance, and I think that's how. Hey, mate, come back a bit. Hey, push up a bit. He got caught out. He lost the handle on Rayner in the second half. I think Perryman's up for a discussion.
Big discussion.
What is Perryman at the moment? What is he? If they're not helping you win it back, and they're not locking one away, and they're not giving you a counter punch, what are they giving you? What is that role?
Yeah, and he's not a damaging user by any means.
So
he's not slicing you up. And then there's the discussion around Houston, which we can have. Nothing has shocked me more this year than Dan Houston's inability to fit in to this unit. I was as confident, and I'm so wrong on this to this point. I'm not saying that he can't, he's not going to turn it around. The thing I've been most wrong this year is Houston and his ineffectiveness in and amongst this Collingwood back six. Now, I think it started with just he just struggled to fit in, and clearly they have their click back there, and they probably burnt him a number of times, showed some vision on that last week. But now it's a real problem. Now he's a player devoid of any confidence.
Well,
I can't believe it.
Yeah, Houston at Collingwood is the same as you at the Logies. Just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit well with me either. And look, he's a talent.
Well said.
He's a talent. So I'm reluctant to absolutely put a line through Collingwood, because I see De Goey do what he did in patches, only played the 60 minutes, managed to win an inch of his life. McCreary makes him a better team, more the defensive weapon that he is, and you throw Howe in. I think Frampton will be in their best lineup down back to allow more to get out of fullback, for one, because that's a disaster for him. So I just think there's so many levers he can pull, but I do think he needs to explore whether it's Nick or Scotty Pendlebury at halfback again, because they've lost their dare.
Well, it's hard to argue with any of that. So at this point in the year, there's a lot of problems. So there's not just... So last week for Brisbane, around stoppage, you feel like fix that up. We're just off a fraction. We can get our boys back being combative. We can fix this. Collingwood seem to have so many little spot fires to fix at this point of the year. Now, if they're relying on Jeremy Howe at 35 with dodgy groins, and this was the point at the start of the year, like can this older group get through a full season? Can they manage them, which they've done a really good job of doing, and surprised me how good, to get them right for a final series? A lot of questions still on Bobby Hill, getting him back to full fitness. So many questions on De Goey, as good as he looked. But Will Day looked great first up last week as well. It's often the second game back. Billy Frampton, you're telling me Billy Frampton is going to be the saviour? I'm not sure. Oh, he's important, but he's not. He was overlooked in this game. I'm not sure Billy Frampton's going to be the saviour. And Jeremy has 35 years of age. Like, come on, there's a few issues.
They are important, though.
No, I'm not denying they're important at full strength, at full fitness. But like, it's a long bow to stretch to say that these guys are going to get them back on track.
Not by themselves, not individually, but there's a domino effect. You bring Howe in, you're asking less of Quainer, you're asking less of Perriman, you're asking less of those around the edges. You get organisation. It does make a difference. I disagree with you there.
Midfield, though, like Ned Long looks is so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Ned Long's a real issue for them. Didn't have an effective kick, 9 touches, coughed the ball up 4 or 5 times, looked completely spooked. So there's one there for them as well.
I'm worried about the other way. Collingwood the other way. Lose clearance. Who's doing what? Have you got the defensive desire if you've got the speed, or do you just not have the speed but have the desire? They've got a conversation to have with a few of those guys. I cannot wait for the coaches' votes to come out, because I've been a critic of these coaches' votes for 2 years.
Can we give our
Nick
vote?
Nick Dacos gets 5 votes from.
Nah, he can't.
What's he get? Where is he?
Well, there was 3 players that were better than him
Morris?
on the night. Morris was better than him,
Yeah.
McCluggage was better than him, and Neil was better than him.
Yeah.
So if he gets more votes than any of those 3, your conspiracy is on here. We should do an extra. We should do a
Harris
emergency.
Andrews was better than him.
Yep. Okay. So he may not even deserve any, but maybe sort of your 4s.
If he gets more than 3, my radar is going.
Let's do an emergency fireball.
Yeah.
Emergency fireball podcast.
Walk and talk style.
Walk and talk. We'll
Can we do a communal walk and talk? How do you do that?
I mean, we can do that.
We
Just
can
a
do
little selfie.
Okay.
We should do an emergency pod drop of Fireball tomorrow. I'll be in Melbourne. It's your day off, but you can come into the studio and we'll record something and put that on our podcast.
Very good.
Just before we put a bow on Brisbane.
Yeah.
What are we seeing with Logan Morris? There's something I can't take my eyes off him. There's something like. So there's the ability, but then there's the demeanour. This guy seems to me like he's going to be an entertainer for a long period of time. He takes a mark and then sort of laughs. This is the big stage. He's 20. He's on the MCG in front of 82,000 in a big game. And he's taking hangers against good opposition and then sort of laughing and just going back and slotting them. I think we're seeing something really special with this kid. Now, I don't know a whole lot about him, but gee, I'm loving. So this year we've been a bit negative about the game. I get it. One of the great things about the game this year is the emergence of these young key forwards. There's 6 or 7 of them that are going to be pretty exciting for the next 10 years, and he's right at the top.
The very best forwards in our game have a way of losing a man, a way of shaking their opponent, whether it's through speed or just a happy knack of doing different leads to put them in a whip. Or I've seen Dermott teach or try and educate young forwards on how to lose a man and how to create an area of advantage and protect drop zones and all those sorts of little things that are hard to that take, I reckon, 2 years to learn if you're starting from zero. This kid has it already. He very rarely is in a contest with his direct opponent.
Yeah,
he's always on the move. He's always. It's a bit like Jack Gunston. When I say Gunston, he reminds me of a very young Jack Gunston. His ability to lose a man. I don't think he's overly quick. I don't think he's overly. I mean, he's a capable contested marker, but I don't think that's his only asset. So I just think his ability to lose a man is extraordinary.
Chris Fagan spoke about him after the game.
He's a great player, young Logan. I mean, he's such a surprise packet. When he turned up, I just didn't know he was going to turn into the player that he's turned into very, very quickly. I mean, he's in his second year. He's a premiership player, and he's kicked 6 tonight. He's kicked a few. Has he kicked some bags of 5 this year too? 2 bags of 5. So he's a level-headed young man. He loves his footy. He was so disappointed in his game last week, and it was good to see him respond in the manner that he did tonight.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Lions players that responded says a fair bit about them. He'd had a quiet patch, but that was some sort of performance. Chris Fagan there. What a game it was on Friday night. As good a game as I've seen live this year. After 20 games, would you believe it, that the Adelaide Crows are on top of the ladder, having won 15 and lost 5 with a percentage of 144.1. That is about 6% better than the next best team, and that's the Cats. Kingy, Adelaide, I'm not sure what your 5 is going to say, but I'd be surprised if they're not number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, they won't be 1 for me.
They won't be 1?
They won't be 1. I'm just concerned that first time up, like this is a huge rise in 20 weeks, and we've probably had a lot more faith with them, and particularly the coach in the last 18 months than others, and they have been building to this. I think the additions of those extra experienced bodies means their 18 on the field doesn't thin out, and they don't have a disastrous bottom 6 anymore. So there's less impact on games from those guys from a negative sense, and their leaders just stamp a 9 out of 10 performance every week. I marvel at what Worrell's been able. Worrell reminds me so much of Guy McKenna. It's not funny.
Does he?
Like he just gets across to everything. He gets across to everything. Big in the air, brave, takes some punishment, and then very rarely does he make a mistake. Well, he's become a serious AFL player, and I know we're going to talk about Dawson and Rankin, but Rankin's more that. He's the Degoe type, or the guys, the stringer types that drop into the game for 10-minute windows and finish it. It's Shea Bolton. They just drop in for periods and then they shut the door on teams. Dawson does you all night, but this guy Rankin, he's a special talent.
He was so Hardwick played him about as well as you could play him, didn't he?
Just didn't have the wheels
for 3 quarters, but he just. And I want to look at a couple of those forward stoppages, just the positioning of the help. Like you need help. Like good luck 1-on-1 with Isaac Rankin, and a couple of those ones Hardwick played him pretty well. It was just too good. But where's the wing help, the supporting behind a couple of those stoppages?
Too close
Dawson
they
was
were.
The other one that cut. Yeah,
I think it was Morrison. Morrison was
Amon.
almost in the hit zone. He was that close in. It was almost a defensive hit.
Exactly.
Crazy.
And there was a stoppage goal that Dawson kicked as well, where, I think it was Amon got sucked in as well. It's just a lack of protection. So they broke down. A couple of big goals going to cost you there. But, yeah, I just thought Hardwick played it well and Rankin was too good. Dawson, you were going to do your All-Australian team.
Ran out of time. ran out of time. I'll do
Yeah,
it for
no,
you
that's
Friday.
okay. You got a bit on. You were too busy watching the Logies
I had to
and
catch
the
up on the
NRL
Logies
and the
Piastri
F1s.
set me. It was a bit of a setback.
Who is your All-Australian captain?
All-Australian captain. I'm going to be unpopular and say Noah Anderson.
Okay.
I think to be
That wouldn't be unpopular.
Well, they got not a lot of support
Why
coming for him.
why
the Suns.
not?
Because no one will say Noah Anderson.
No,
I think
but
they'd
why
be given,
not Jordan Dawson?
because I think Jordan's got more support. I think it's Rowell and Anderson or bust up north.
Yeah.
And what he's doing is remarkable. First year as captain, they'll play finals for the first time as a football club. I think there's got to be some merit in that. Not sort of denigrating the season that Dawson's had, but I just think there's more support for Dawson. One with Saligo in the midfield, and the Ruckman's had a pretty good year, I reckon. Rolly O'Brien,
Yeah, he was great on Friday.
and then Rankin and the three tall forwards have provided a lot of support, if not constant impact to games where that hasn't been the case up north.
Yeah. All right. We
You?
discussed on.
Oh, you can't do it. You
I
can't
won't.
do it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We discussed on Friday. So just finally on Adelaide, there's something about the belief in each other where you are willing to sacrifice your body for the betterment of the team and do all of the unrewarded stuff. And Worrell's the best example of that. It is the most magnificent feeling in a team when you know your teammates are going to do that. And that's where Adelaide are at. Like they're seriously tough. They're uncompromising. They play like it's a final every week. And it's a great spot to be when you're at this stage of the year and you are willing to sacrifice yourself for the betterment of the team. And a credit to Matty Nix and the leaders there for making that that's just the standard. That's the expectation. They play West Coast this week, Kingy in Perth. How many would you rest?
None. I'll just keep rolling. None.
You'd keep. No, you wouldn't. I would.
Yeah. No, I think this is a year of just keeping on rolling. Ride the wave. I think this year you ride the wave. No one's expecting them to win it. They weren't expecting them to win it
Well, hang on,
6 weeks ago. Now they are.
Hang on.
Are.
There's premierships are hard to win. They are on top of the ladder after 20 games.
Yep.
They're looking at 2 home finals. See you on grand final. Don't give them the no one's expecting them to win. That's cowards talk. Of course you're expecting them to win. You can't just. Who knows when they'll be in this position ever again?
Yeah,
I just
think you ride the wave. Just ride the wave. Keep it going. Because I just think they're in perfect rhythm.
So you don't think Adelaide fans should be expecting to be there on grand final day with this position that they're in? Good draw home, finish top 2. Good luck trying to beat them in front of 53,000 at Adelaide Oval in a home final.
Yeah, if it was Adelaide-Brisbane, prelim final week in Adelaide, I would still be tipping Brisbane.
Really?
I mean, Brisbane should have got them last time. So we've got evidence of that, where they hung on with all the inaccuracy in front of goal in that last quarter. Remember, it was only about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, they kicked 5 in the last quarter or something to win.
Yeah, and they kicked like 8 points or 11 points or something in the last quarter. So
Correct.
We'll worry about that when it comes. I just think you keep riding the wave. I'll tell you what they are doing, and this is something that we can. History gives us a couple of lessons. I reckon the Western Bulldogs, way back when, under Terry Wallace, late 90s, they used to break teams with their run. They used to swarm back to help and then charge forward. And teams just couldn't physically go with them. Either one, they couldn't do it physically, or two, they weren't mentally prepared to pay the price. I think this is the Crows. That they go coast to coast as a swarming group of 18 up and down the ground, and they're breaking teams. I saw the sub come on, the Warple, and he just couldn't go with Saligo. Now, Saligo had been out there all day busting his butt. And I'm thinking, well, this is a bit of a statement here. I think it's sort of growing. It's actually becoming a real thing, a tangible item for them to drill into and say they can't go with us.
Well, I was managed by Darren Burgess for a long period of time throughout my career, and that was a big thing for him. Just knowing that the last quarter, and he sells that. No one can go with us, and then all of a sudden, whether it's real or not, the players just believe it. We've done the work. They can't go with us. We're 2 goals down at 3/4 time. We're coming. They don't know all that sort of stuff that you love. Who knows if it's real? But I said last week about their physicality. They are the most physically prepared team. They break the most tackles out of any team. It was 205 tackles broken before that game on Friday night. They are massive. And I told you last week, Kingy, the numbers that they're pushing in the gym, I'm led to believe are extraordinary. Adelaide did a very good video on their socials about the way that they manage their players in the gym in the early stages of the week and how they know when their players are recovered. It gives you some good vision and some insight into that if you're interested in that space. But they're just massive, and they're just the most physically prepared team right now.
And they've got guys, and if you don't think Dan Curtin's won the Rising Star, go and watch the last quarter again. There's some guys who just get big at the ball. When the ball's in the air, they get up and strong at that footy. That's what he does. I think he had 6 contested possessions in the last quarter. When the game was there to be won, I know he's not a first-year player, but a young player that is eligible for the Rising Star was significant. So I really love their standards, and I think they're challenging the competition to be a 120-minute team.
Okay, I'm surprised you don't think they can win it, though.
Of course they've got the tools to win it, but I won't be falling into them.
I think you're giving them an out.
No, they wouldn't care what I think. But I
do.
I would still I'll probably have Brisbane and Geelong in front of them.
Okay. You were very pessimistic about the Tall Four working on Friday, and you were justified.
You were pessimistic as well. What are you talking about?
No, I didn't think it was a wise thing to do. I got the reasoning behind it and why that decision was made, and it certainly made sense. But when you actually try and put that into action, there's just always one of the 4 that is going to be starving. And that's what happened. It was probably more than one of the 4 that was going to be starving. In the end, they opted to sub Deer out and bring Warple on. They were getting smacked up around the footy, so you can understand why they made that decision. But where to now, Kingy? Like, it's not an easy fix for them. They won't play 4. I don't think they can afford to play 4. But which one misses out?
You know what? I didn't think they were too bad. I thought they played a pretty good game of footy. They just ran into a pretty hot team. Last 30 minutes.
Holistically, it was a strong, impressive performance away from home against a very, very good side. With Will Day banged up, and Will Day was in trouble at half time. So that I understand there's the vision of him late, but he started on the bench at half time, went down and was assessed in the rooms whilst the third quarter started for a good 5 to 6 minutes. So there was clearly an issue right throughout the night. It wasn't just the end. So the management of that, you'd have to ask the club about and have an insight into it that we don't have. So with all that going on, they were pretty impressive. But the 4 talls, which 3 do you think they'll land on, or will they go for 4 again this week, Thursday?
It was far from disastrous. It was. They played a pretty good game of footy, so I wouldn't surprise me if they went with the same thing again. It really would. I mean, Day goes out, and they'll probably look. Would they bring in Bruce? Do you think he didn't play? He got taken out of the VFL on the weekend.
He was the travelling holdover. Emergency.
Would you throw him in?
He's probably the ideal sub. I think Warple's going to have to play, and then you'd have to look at what else.
I wouldn't play Warple. I wouldn't play Warple.
Play him.
No. I'm getting aggressive.
McKenzie, maybe. My man McKenzie, the future Brownlow medalist.
I'm getting aggressive with what you've already got with your half forwards. I think Moore needs to spend a bit of time in the middle. I think they've got to get more out of the Wizard. They've got to get more ball in his hands. So get him around the action a bit more. Treat him a little bit like Shea Bolton. Get him around centre bounces.
Cozzy Pickett's the right.
Cozzy Pickett, same thing, same role.
Comp.
Yeah, so see if you can get more out of him. That's where I'd be going. I mean, it's tough because Newcomb's not in great form. So how do you get him going again? Like, what do you need to do to get him going again? He's a priority, but I think their half forwards need to play more midfield minutes.
A bit more like the Brisbane model, where you just bring them all up around the footy, which they do a fair bit anyway.
In at centre bounces as well.
Yeah. So is it over for them? You think they're? Do you think they're the most vulnerable out of the 9?
Well, of course they are because their run's a disaster. Yep. But this game Thursday night is everything. The finals have started early this year. They really have. I mean, they got the biggest game of the round this week, Thursday night against Collingwood. It's probably the only game this round that you really can't wait to see. The week after, there's a few more clashes, but if they can get this one done, they play finals.
Yeah.
If not, they're going to have to beat Brisbane in the last game of the year. That ain't going to happen.
Hawks fans, I asked the Collingwood supporters, panic levels out of 10. 10 being cold sweats. You've just woken up with the flu. 043390 1116. Where does your panic levels. Oh,
What are your panic levels? You've been going with Genius. You've loved everything that they've done in 18 months.
Think some years things can conspire against you, and this is
one of the great.
No, they've been very good in 3 of their losses. That the loss to Gold Coast and Darwin, they were really good. Round 0 against Sydney, and Sydney they were very good. Adelaide, very good. These are very small margins, and I think they're in good shape. I think they're a Christian Petrarca short of being a premiership contender. They're one powerful gun midfielder short. They know that. Their defence now looks really good.
You can't say that missing the 8 wouldn't be a problem for them.
No, it would be an underperformance, absolutely. But they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good, and they've had some issues conspire against them. None bigger than Will Day. None bigger than Will Day and Weddle. Take 2 of your best 5 out of any team. Take 2 of your best 5 out of Collingwood. Where are they? Nowhere. Take Dacos out of Collingwood. So this is the reality, and I think they've been good. Now, I'm not giving up on them, but some years you get a bit of bad luck. They've had a bit of bad luck.
Well, they've seen the template on how to get Collingwood, and if
they got a good record against Collingwood,
yeah, have they? If the Genius is everything you say, then the template's there. So maybe being a fraction taller might help them this week, given the long down the line stuff. So let's wait and see. I can't wait for Thursday night. It's going to be one of the games of the year.
Games of the year, and we're due for a cracker on a Thursday night.
I want to have a ball off.
A ball off.
I want to have a ball off with you. Your 5 versus my 5 in order, right? I'll give you my 5
to 1,
right?
Or 1 to 5.
1 being the most important and best player in the competition. That's Nick Dacos for me at number 1. 2 is Bont. 3 is Anderson. 4 is Jeremy Cameron. And 5 is Wanganeen Miller right now. Your 5, please.
It's a good 5. It's a really good 5. So credit to you. It's a good 5. It's not the order is just not quite right.
Dismissive. So the arrogance of the Logies is rubbing off. Seriously, the room, the sheer ego in the room has left you well.
Smartassery of the highest order.
Thank you, Jared. I was looking for the words.
No, the best player in the competition is Sam Darcy. The second best player is Marcus Bontempelli. And imagine being out of the top 8 when you've got the best 2 players in the comp. That's a topic for another day. Nick Dacos at 3. So you're right on that. I do think the big story is Nasiah. I do have him in my top 5. I wouldn't have had him anywhere near the top 5 10 weeks ago, but I think he's just forced his way in. I did have Cozzy Pickett in my top 5 for a while. He's not in there now, and I think you're right with Cameron. So mine is Darcy, Bont, Nasiah, and Jeremy Cameron. I don't have Noah Anderson there yet. Got a lot of good midfielders. I think Zach Butters is stalking the top 5, but not quite there. He's just been tagged a little bit too heavily and too easily this year. So my 5 is Darcy, Bont, Dacos, Naz, and Jeremy Cameron.
Not bad. Let's see what the response is.